Into hour number 2, best-selling author, Pastor Lindsey Williams, who 30 years ago was the first to blow the whistle on the fact that there's more oil in Alaska than there is in Saudi Arabia. He's since been proven completely right. He has told us so much here on air that's come true. And he was on, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago with us the last time. And he said, you know, I've told you for years the Iran attack wasn't coming. Now it's coming in the next year. And I told you, no, enjoy yourself, drive around, have fun. Oil prices aren't going to go up too much until the next 6 months or so. Now it's started, and I have oil prices at $200 a barrel. Some think it's coming. That's CNBC Friday. So we'll have to recap all this in a moment, Lindsey, when we come back from break. But you've got some breaking information that you're going to share with us today, and I appreciate you coming on with us to go over this, sir.
A number of years ago, Alex, some things happened to me that were very unusual. Your listeners will never believe what I'm going to say today unless you give me just a brief moment. I was a pastor of a church for 12 years. I was asked and invited to be the chaplain of the elite of the world, and I lived with them for 3 years' time on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. For 35 years, I've kept in touch with some of these individuals. One of them died last year, so now you know that I really did know him. He was 87 years of age. Now, just recently, my present individual, who is in his 70s, he has children and a wife, a family. He's very concerned. I have never seen the like. This man has come out in the open. We've had numerous conversations lately. Every few days, he has told me the following. Please have a pencil and paper. You're going to want to write down some facts today. He said, when the financial collapse will take place. Now, I'm going to also tell you when it's not going to take place. Number 2, he said, why Mr. Obama may not be reelected. Did you catch that? I said, may not be reelected. You'll be startled. Keystone Pipeline, it fits into all of this, and it's so vitally important. And folks, please, he has told me what currency you must get into immediately. So all of these things I'll try to cover as fast as I can today. Now, Alex, the first thing I'm going to have to say is you have a lot of new listeners out there. I've never been on your Sunday show before. You'll have to verify some of this. I'm going to use the words, I told you so. Last October, November, December, you allowed me the privilege of being on your show. And every newsletter writer imaginable was saying there's going to be a financial collapse. It's going to happen in November or December. And, Alex, I came on your show. It's in your archives. I had gone to my elitist friend. I asked him, and I said it on your show. I said, Alex, there is not going to be a financial collapse in October, November, or December. Then January, February, and March. We're ending up March right now. You allowed me again the privilege of being on your show. I think it was the last of December or the 1st of March. I had just finished talking with my elitist friend, and I came on your show, and I said, folks, I'm going to have to apologize to all my newsletter writer friends out there. Every one of them are saying that the Ides of March, we're going to have a financial collapse.
You did say that. You said mark it down, take notes. It's on record. You were right again.
And I came on your show and I said it is not going to happen. I'm going to make another prediction right now based on my elitist. Folks, the elite know what they're doing. There positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. Everything has already been decided behind closed doors. And the only reason that I know it is by the providence of God that years ago he allowed me the privilege of living with these people. I gained their confidence, and 2 of them over the years have told me everything that goes on behind closed doors, and never once has it failed. Here's the prediction. There will not be a financial collapse during April, May, and June. You have my word on it. The elite said it's not going to happen, but I am going to tell you today when it is going to happen.
Whoa.
But I had to say I told you.
Lindsey,
so
you are totally cutting to the chase. This is awesome. And again, I knew who his one source was. I knew who the other was because they're both hiding in plain view. One's dead now. Lindsey Williams years ago, was covering all this, and our good friend Dr. Monteith, being the journalist he is, still called the guy and was like, how do you know my name? Yeah, I'd more than tell him that. Don't say my name. And that fella died of cancer. I know who the other Mr. X is. We're going to break all this down when we come back. This is super powerful.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
There's going to be some very important information you're going to hear in the next 55 minutes or so. in the second half of this Sunday transmission. It's so important. I'm obviously going to have Lindsey back up on the weekday show that's 11 to 2 Central, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, because what he just dropped on me, in the last week or two, we've been talking to him a lot off air, and he wasn't quite ready to go on yet. He is sticking his neck out here. I want to introduce him here briefly. 30 years ago, he wrote The Energy Non-Crisis that was a bestseller over the next 2 decades in the aggregate. He had worked as the chaplain on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline on the big drilling rigs for 3.5 years. This happens commonly, that the elite will bring in a pastor, generally to be a liaison. In fact, most big boards have that in the field, to the roughnecks. He got picked. So he was in their elite compound with the swimming pools and all the rest of it, but out in the field, staying in the tents with them. And he got to know 2 big, one a CEO, one a head of operations for a 2 major oil companies. I've known who they've been for a decade. I went back into the 80s and found them actually on record. One of them's actually been at a speech with Williams, but got in so much trouble he shut up about it. Got fired, got hired back. Now, one of them died of cancer a year ago, so we can now talk about him. Ken Fromm. The other guy, I don't even like to say Ken Fromm, was almost say the other guy's name. Mr. X, we'll call him, is 80-something years old, still alive, retired former CEO of one of the big 5 oil companies. Everything Lindsey's given us, we separately have confirmed through Bilderberg sources, but we only get that intel once a year. By the way, that's coming up in about a month, and we're tracking that right now. It may be in the U.S. Some are saying Haifa over in Israel. We're not sure. The point is that all this is going on. Now, he said, I don't know, 4 years ago or so, that oil would go to $150 a barrel. Everybody laughed at him. It was at 50. It went to that. Then he said, everybody's saying it's going to 200. No, it'll go below 50. It dropped to 40, exactly as he said. He said that before it started dropping, and he said the time frame. His elitist sources have been right about 95% of the time. Now, they said 2 years ago, it won't be an Iran attack. 6 months ago, they said now one is on the front burner in the next year. They said no economic collapse last year, as a lot of folks were saying. But Lindsey has these sources, and I know who the one source is. Now, we only got about 5 minutes left in this segment. We're going to come back and cover it all here. But this is a big deal. It also ties into the Keystone Pipeline that Obama killed. So Warren Buffett could make money shipping the oil to the West Coast and then to China onto the big oil tankers. He'll make billions a year off that. Even Bloomberg reported that. In fact, guys, put in the term for viewers that are watching at prisonplanet.tv. Radio listeners can just search this, but I want to show it to people. Buffett stands to gain from Keystone being shut down. And then Bloomberg. I'm going to show him that from a few months ago. Obama has the nerve, when that heat got to him on gas prices going up, to come out and say, well, I'm going to allow the southern leg to be built. That's already built. He killed the middle leg. That's deception. That's deception. Okay, Lindsey, recap what's coming up, the bombshells you're about to drop, and then we're going to come back and get into them, because you just told me some incredible stuff that your elites have told you. Go ahead.
Please, everyone in the listening audience, I beg of you to listen to my concerned elitist friend, who is now up with a grown family. He's very concerned about America. And may I say, we must take immediate action. America, as we know it today, is doomed. You have a time frame right now. You have a window of opportunity right this minute that is you're going to find it amazing. Okay, Alex, what do you want me to cover first? You want me to cover the financial collapse? You want me to cover the Obama and the pipeline, or the currency? We got 3 subjects here. Whether I can get them all in today or not, I don't know. Well,
just recap that you're elitist friend. You're not talking to him once a month now. You're not just by email. You're on the phone with him, and he's freaked out. Start wherever you think it's most important.
I have made the statement, as was given to be by Mr. Fromm a long time before he ever passed away, that by the end of 2012, the dollar would be dead. And you need to understand this in order to understand.
You said that 3 years ago. I'm just backing you up. You said that 3 years ago. Go ahead.
Yes, and it will be. Now, let me show you what's happening, just in case you picked it up. First of all, don't pay any attention to the New York stock market. It means nothing. It is not an indicator of anything. It did not say that the dollar would be non-existent. They said the dollar would be dead. I want to show you how it's already dying, and then you'll put the pieces together. Again, please have that pencil and paper handy and write these things down, put them beside your calendar. Just about 2 months ago, China and Japan signed the largest trade agreement that's ever been signed in the history of the world, saying they would trade amongst themselves. China being the second largest economy in the world, Japan being the third, I believe, now with America the first. When they did that, it was in the agreement, there will not be the use of the reserve currency of the world, the petrodollar, which is the American dollar.
And by the way, India is almost more populous than China now. They've now left the U.S. and England as being our staunch ally. They've now teamed up with China publicly. They've always been enemies. This is a big power shift, and they've said they're going to move away from dollars.
No American dollar. That was the first nail that was hammered into the coffin of the American dollar as the reserve currency of the world. Then Iran, we put sanctions on them. The European Union came along and said no European Union country can buy any oil from Iran after June the 1st. The United States of America said you cannot use the American dollar to buy, sell, or trade oil with Iran. And then the United Nations came along and put on more sanctions. Iran was in a mess. They're the third largest supplier of oil on the face of the earth. 3.5 million barrels of oil every 24 hours. Iran needs to sell their oil. India needs oil. India stepped up and said, Iran, we will buy 1 million barrels of oil from you every 24 hours. But Iran says we can't sell it and use the American dollar. Oh, my goodness, folks, we shot ourselves in the foot as the United States of America. I can't believe our stupid State Department. India came along and said, Iran, we want that million barrels of oil every 24 hours, and we will pay you in gold. Can you imagine not getting funny money paper or Federal Reserve notes?
This is what's scaring me. Their top advisor, top globalist, John Corzine, publicly lied to Congress and is now being caught stealing money, and he's one of the top guys. It shows they're just a bunch of crooks behind a curtain. It's scary.
Do you see it, folks? China and Japan, largest trade agreement on the face of the earth ever signed. No American dollar. Iran and India, no American dollar. Folks, the dollar is going to be dead by the end of 2012, and the third one that maybe you haven't heard of, and you probably wouldn't unless you knew my elitist friend, Saudi Arabia supplies us with more crude oil than any other country on the face of the earth, and they have betrayed us. They came along and said, okay, China, you need oil. We will, and they're building it right now. The largest oil refinery ever built on the face of the earth has been built in China right now by Saudi Arabia, and the agreement between Saudi Arabia and China is we will not use the American dollar for the sale and the trade of this crude oil. China and Japan, Iran and India, Saudi Arabia and China, in 2 months' time, the dollar has begun to die as the petrodollar of the world, the reserve currency of the world. Now we're coming down to a collapse of the American dollar that is going to be utterly appalling. I have said it. I've been told by my elitist friend, it will not happen yet. And there's a reason why. It's more important that you know the reason why the elite have not allowed the dollar to collapse yet. It's more important than knowing that it's going to collapse, or even knowing the date that it's going to collapse. Why are they not allowed? It should have collapsed at the end of the Bush administration, and they came along with QE1 and QE2. Then they didn't allow it to collapse again this past year, and it should have in October, November, or December.
No, it should have. I had a lot of folks that we have on who really thought it was going to happen because they were saying QE3, but they didn't. Now they're saying it is coming. Stay there. That means hyperinflation, ladies and gentlemen. That means a currency tax. We'll be right back with Lindsey Williams on the other side. Amazing information. You can find out about the DVDs and things he's done at prophecyclub.com.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
Alex Jones here, back live. Lindsey Williams, our guest. In Ayn Rand's book that she wrote back in, the 50s, Atlas Shrugged, an elite group of crony capitalists within Washington start shutting down all their competition. Because if you shut down your competition, that automatically increases your bottom line. And that's what's plagued so many real countries. That's what happens under fascism, communism, and other command and control systems. Well, that's what we have here today. I mean, I've got the oil company documents from 15 years ago, the AP got, Associated Press, where they said, buy up all the refineries and shut them down because there's too much oil coming and we got to jack up prices. And they even say in the memos, we'll blame the environmentalists. You think a bunch of idiots in sandals are controlling the oil companies? No. Again, the average liberal or conservative has no idea how they're gamed. And unfortunately, about 95% of what Lindsey has said over the years from his sources has turned out to be frighteningly accurate. I remember one thing is the elites thought that Obama would not get elected. They said McCain was their man. And that was one thing they were wrong about. And I wish they were wrong about more, because I've got similar type sources. I remember Jim Tucker, right around the time that Lindsey said all this, said they're going to pump oil up to 150. And then next Bilderberg, they're like, people are getting too angry, we're going to lower it. You know, but now they're saying they're going to tax bicycles and walking. That's CBS News, folks. Agenda 21. Going back to Lindsey Williams. Lindsey, let's get in to the Arab Spring being financed by these guys. You called it a year before the Arab Spring was even on the radar. Never been heard of. You said they're going to overthrow the Middle East through proxy wars. Your source did. Well, that was Fromm. He's dead now. I want to know what Mr. L has to say. It's not really Mr. X. The currency, you're saying it's not going to crash during the summer, but then, I mean, go over it all. Just hit it bullet point after bullet point, Lindsey.
There's a window of opportunity right now that is so wonderful and so much to all of us' advantage. We must see the elite stopped. We positively must see the New World Order brought to an end. And they have shot themselves in the foot in that they have given us this window of opportunity, Alex. Now, folks, I want you to hear everything that Alex says every day, because he's warning you and telling you on a daily basis. You remember that every newsletter writer out there, and many of them are my friends, and I don't like saying this, but every one of them was saying whenever Greece's economy collapses, the European Union and the euro is going to go with it. I mean, without exception, every newsletter writer that I know of was saying...
Everyone but Bob Chapman. Every guest but you and Bob Chapman was saying that, basically.
Good. Well, I'm glad to know Bob didn't say it. And when Greece collapsed, the euro didn't collapse. And I wasn't on your show, Alex, because it's been a while since I've been with you. But on many other shows that's in their archives, I said the euro is not going to crash whenever Greece crashes. Okay, here we go. Please write this down in your notes. Why have the elite not allowed the financial system of the world to collapse yet? A reason. I told it on your show earlier, very briefly right now. The elite told me, they said, we are not going to allow the collapse of the financial system of the world, not just the United States of America, whether it be the euro, America, China, Japan, it matters not. We are not going to allow the crash to take place. And it is going to happen, folks, please. It is going to happen. But they said, not yet. And I said, why? They said, we want to create such massive debt in every nation in the world, every city in America, every county in America, every place, every state. We want to create such massive debt that whenever we finally do decide to, and they are going to, and they know that they're going to do it, and whenever it takes place, they said, we will have caused such massive debt all over the world that we can step in and say, Greece, you have no choice. We bought you. Have you ever wondered why they took 50% loss on the paper that they bought from Greece, their bonds and so on? This is all a part of the plan. They'll step into Greece and say, Greece, you have no choice. Your currency has failed. The only way for you to do is forget about your Constitution, the United States of America. Your dollar is toast. And that you must accept our New World Order.
Yeah, they openly put Goldman Sachs alumni in as the appointed prime ministers and presidents in Italy, Greece, you name it. And even in the Financial Times of London, they call it banker dictatorship and say it's a good thing because they're loaning them fiat made-up digits and getting real infrastructure back.
But do you realize what a marvelous, folks, everybody out there, do you realize what a marvelous opportunity and a window of opportunity we have right now to do everything that Alex is talking about in saving America and turning it around? They are shooting themselves in the foot by waiting, but they are intentionally doing it in order to create this massive debt. Then they'll step into the United States of America.
Sure, take the world into global receivership. So tell us what your former oil company executive, known to myself, we're not going to reveal him here because of journalistic standards, what he told you about when they are planning the Iran attack, when they, or if that's on the table, and when they do plan to have the dollar dead.
For the time being, Iran, don't pay any attention to it. Mr. Obama may use it at the very last minute before the election if he has to or wants to. It'd be terribly dangerous for him to. But I don't think from what my elitist friends are indicating, I don't think you'll see anything with Iran and Israel anytime soon. Now, let's go down to the dollar because, as you know, the most sensitive part of anybody's anatomy is the rear pocket. And recently, I'm going to give a name now. I hope you have that pencil and paper ready. You've got to write it down. Just recently, I was put in touch with a Wall Street insider. You may recognize him, Alex, or you can go look him up if you don't. This man was many years on Wall Street as an insider, and he is verifying what my elitists have told me. His name is Tom Fowler,
yes.
F-Y-L-E-R, and he, for years, was considered one of the Wall Street insiders. And what my elitist friends told me and what he said, Lindsey, I've known him for about a year now. They put me in touch with him a while back. And he said, Lindsey, let's compare notes. We compared what he saw on Wall Street on the inside and what I heard from my elitist friends, and we experienced the identical same things, except he got it out of Wall Street, I got it out of my friends. He got so sick of the corruption on Wall Street until he left. You can talk to him personally, by the way. You'll find out how later on if you would. Here's what we came up with, and here's what my elitist friends have told me. Do you want to know when the financial collapse is going to take place, when it will happen? First of all, do not pay any attention to the New York stock market. It is not an indicator of anything.
It's totally rigged. So what did he tell you?
Then you do not pay any attention to the euro. The euro is not an indication either. And as you know, my elitist friend told me you've got 2 to 3 weeks after the euro crashes before you've got to be out of paper or you'll lose it. Don't pay any attention to crude oil prices. There is a word that I hope you know what the meaning of it is, and if you don't, you've got to do a crash course on it immediately. And here is what's just been said, and I'll give you the background to it. Number one, you must write down the word derivatives. Don't pay any attention to the stock market, the euro, nor the crude oil prices. The indicator as to when the financial collapse will take place is the derivative market.
Sure, it's when they stop propping those up. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
The derivatives begin to crack.
Yeah, but exactly. And then you were saying they also told you that Obama may not get reelected. Why they think that? I want to get into the Keystone Pipeline and more with Lindsey Williams, our guest. And yes, we'll take a few phone calls for him. I'll give you the number on the other side. Lindsey Williams is our guest for 2 more segments. This is really going quick. And I really wish that this information was not accurate. But undoubtedly, we know a global government's been formed. We know they're devaluing the currency. They're talking about QE3 now, quantitative easing 3, which will really accelerate the devaluation of a currency and increase prices across the board while we have other depressionary factors in the economy. We're going to be discussing that in a moment. I wanted to tell you, Lindsey's got a new documentary presentation. He's put out several over the years, but a new one with all this information codified in it. And you can simply go to prophecyclub.com. That's prophecyclub.com to get it. It's titled Secrets of the Elite. You can order it, I think, right now, but it's not going to be out till later in the week. They just completed it. Or you can give them a call, 888-799-6111. Again, Secrets of the Elite, prophecyclub.com, or 888-799-6111. And I'll double-check that website and email and phone number here with him in just a moment. Okay, going back to Lindsey Williams, just briefly. Lindsey, did I give that number out right, 888-799-6111?
Alex, you're doing a great job. That's exactly right. You're always right.
No, I'm not always right.
Too many of your radio shows.
No.
Right all the time.
I was just looking at prophecyclub.com, because I know for a decade they've put out your material and stuff, and then I was noticing you have this new film coming out, and I want you to tell us about that in the next segment. We got to move quick now. Let's go over all the points you mentioned right at the front. You said that your former oil company executive source, again, known by me and others in the media, but we're not giving out his name because he wants to be private, is pretty freaked out right now. It looks like things aren't going like the Western elite planned. You have China and India are playing more patty cake with Russia, who they've not gotten along with in the past, and are moving away from the dollar. Again, I mean, kind of give us a hard-boiled date. He's still saying by 2012 you'll see basically the beginning of the end of the dollar. I mean, let's just run through them in rapid fire now, and then get into Keystone.
Yes, the dollar will be dead by the end of 2012. Please, you need to understand, Tom Fowler was actually on Wall Street many, many years ago when the word derivative was used for the first time.
Isn't he a writer for the Wall Street Journal?
Very well could be. I don't know all of his background, but you'll find him up there when you look him up. And he was told what derivatives were. He was told by his superiors to see to it that they were used. And then only a few weeks, I mean, this testimony is so fabulous, you're going to be amazed. He was told a few weeks later, Tom, don't tell people what they're going to be used for. And he calls them the powers that be. I call them the elite. And one of them came to him and said, Tom, now this was way back many years ago when the word derivative was first used. Nobody had heard it before then. Put him in the dictionary. And they came back to him and they said, Tom, we are going to use derivatives in order to bring down the entire financial system of the world. And this was said nearly 20 years ago. My elitist friend just recently said, Chaplain, don't pay any attention to the stock market, the euro, crude oil prices. None of it means anything. He said, you watch derivatives and you will know exactly when we are going to bring it down. Let me express very quickly how derivative works. I'll try to do this as fast as I can. A guest walked into a hotel. He walked up to the desk in the lobby and put a $100 bill down and said, I'd like to see a room. I'd like to stay here tonight, possibly. As soon as he walked off to look at the room, the hotel owner runs and pays the bakery that he owed $100 to. The bakery goes across the street as fast as he can and pays the bill at the flour mill. The person at the flour mill, the owner, goes immediately and gives that $100 to his mistress, who lives at the hotel. The mistress pays the hotel the $100 on her room rent. Then the guest decides he's coming back to the desk, and he says, I don't want to stay in your room. I'm not satisfied. Give me my $100 bill back. Now, that's a very simplified what a derivative is, and if we ever have enough time, I'll give you some pure living examples. What you've got to, folks,
sure, there's 1.5 quadrillion. Our listeners know a lot about derivatives, Lindsey. It's 1.5 quadrillion. It's basically insurance and credit default swaps on other investments. And it's basically counterfeit. It's beyond fractional reserve banking. It's beyond the money changers. It's a total fraud, and that's what we've signed on to as an impossible black hole. So they're still saying by the end of 2012 you'll see the end of the dollar or the beginning of the end.
Okay, let's go to the Keystone Pipeline. My, is it important that the average person didn't have the slight study of what it was all about? Now, you've got to put on your thinking cap for a moment. Remember that Mr. Obama said that on a certain date he was going to announce his decision about the Keystone Pipeline. He didn't. He waited 2 weeks. Please, remember, think back. He waited 2 weeks. Why was he waiting? And when he finally said, it's not in the benefit of America to do this, he literally lost thousands and thousands of jobs, which he says he wants to create. He not only did that, but millions and probably billions of dollars was lost by the United States and its financial system. I immediately went to, you know who he is, Alex. I went to my elitist friend and I said, why did Mr. Obama cancel out on the Keystone Pipeline across Canada? He was livid. I have never heard this man so angry in my life. The elite right now, folks, this is so much to your advantage, it's amazing. The elite right now are so angry at Mr. Obama They may not allow him to be reelected as President of the United States of America. Let me try to explain why. Now, go on the Internet and prove this for yourself. After the program, don't you change that dial right now, but after the program, go on the Internet and look up Liberty Rig. This is the oil rig that was moved last summer to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, and was put on Gull Island. It's the largest pool of oil on the face of the earth. It is the mother lode of all oil. In my book, Energy Non-Crisis, I said it 35 years ago, but nobody ever believed me. Now they will believe me because the Liberty rig is actually there. They know that that oil is going to come in approximately sometimes after next summer, and they had to have a way to bring that oil to market.
And he doesn't want us to have that oil.
They cannot take it through the Arctic Ocean. It freezes over for 9 months out of the year, and they cannot take it down the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline.
And Obama is killing it. He wants to give it to Warren Buffett to ship out. Stay there. We're going to come back and break this down with Lindsey Williams straight ahead with his inside sources. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. Yeah, it's falling apart for John Corzine, caught perjuring himself to Congress, but don't worry. His criminals run all the major regulatory agencies. All the genetic engineering, all the reactors, 9 out of 10 leaking because they don't even care about upgrading them because the bankers make more money, so their reactors are blowing up and leaking everywhere, and their grandkids are getting radiation poisoning just like yours. Yeah, there's always time in life for this. I would stand in line for this. All you New World Order people think you're creating such a great thing. You're creating a nightmare. By the way, big Billy Corrigan interview that I did a week and a half ago when he was in town. He came into the office. He's been a listener for many years. I've been a fan since the early 90s. Smashing Pumpkins. He talks about the New World Order, global warming, religion, everything. We're going to air that tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. InfoWars Nightly News, hour-plus interview after the news. Then I'm going to air some excerpts of that, like I did with Dave Mustaine a few weeks ago, on the radio show. But it's big. It'll be a headline maker as well. We have some other very important guests joining us this week. I'll just leave it at that for you. And, of course, the place to visit is Infowars.com. There's a new video, well, several videos I shot today up on Infowars.com. The secret of soft kill. What is soft kill? Find out. At Infowars.com. Also, nanny state on steroids. City plans to outlaw smoking in apartments. Kurt Nimmo. Well, some cities have banned it in your own house. But what about nanny state charging you to walk or ride a bicycle? Stuff like that's coming to New York and other areas. Total enslavement. So we're going to be breaking all that down. If you can't walk or ride a bicycle, folks, you're a prisoner. So that's coming up. Lindsey, I want to get back to the Keystone Pipeline and Gull Island and the oil. Why would Obama, as Bloomberg and AP reported, kill that pipeline under pressure now and say, okay, I'll allow the southern route when that's already built? It's the middle route he's still blocking. So he's playing stalling games. Why is this so important for the trader-in-chief?
I'm going to give you one of the most startling statements you've ever heard. And in just a moment, briefly, let me go back. The largest oil rig that's ever been built on the face of the earth was moved to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, up on the Arctic Ocean in northern Alaska this past summer, and was placed on Gull Island. Go on the Internet, and you can see it in the construction phase, and you'll see it sitting on the island. They know that the mother lode of all oil fields is there under that Gull Island. They must bring that oil out. They were depending on the Keystone Pipeline to get it to market somewhere in the world, wherever they wanted to take it. They cannot carry it through the Arctic Ocean. It freezes over 9 months out of the year. They cannot take it down the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. Briefly, quickly, let me tell you why. The Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, every so many days, they run what is called a pig down it. They've been doing it for 35 years. You in the oil patch, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a big ball, and all around it is little things like razor blades, and it cuts the paraffin that is collected on the side of the pipe, and if they didn't run it every so many days, it would clog up. That has caused the pipe to be so thin they cannot run 2 million barrels of crude oil down it any longer, plus the state of Alaska will not allow them to build another pipeline at this point. Therefore, the elite had no choice but the Keystone Pipeline. All right, you ready? Here it is. I'm going to give you the statement. I called my elitist friend, and I'm going to tell you exactly what he said. I hope this doesn't hurt. I hope it does affect you very much. I said, why did he cancel on the Keystone Pipeline? He said, you ready? He is a Muslim. I said exactly what this man said. I did not change a word on it. He said he is a Muslim. I said, wait a minute. Are you telling me that he canceled out on the Keystone Pipeline in favor of his Muslim brethren and the Muslim Brotherhood? He said, yes, Chaplain. Mr. Obama, the President of the United States of America, has double-crossed the elite. He is in big, big trouble. He may not get reelected. They may see to it he doesn't. He has committed a crime amongst all the elite that is unreal. Therefore, we had to go back and waffle a little bit and say, okay, we'll talk about the southern end. Mark my words. He'll probably go back and let the whole thing be built after a while. You know why he wanted to do this? The Muslims gave him literally millions of dollars for his campaign 3 years ago. He waited 2 weeks. Folks, remember back what I said a moment ago? He waited 2 weeks from the day he said he was going to announce this. Why? He was waiting on his Muslim brother and to give him, again, promise him millions of dollars for his next presidential election campaign. The elite know it, and the word that this man used, he was so livid. He said, Chaplain, he is a Muslim. And I said, you mean he canceled out on it in favor of his Muslim brethren? He did. Alex, this is so much to our favor you cannot imagine. This may be one of the greatest things that ever happened to us in a long time, because right now the elite are mad, Alex.
Go ahead, Lindsey.
Well, that basically is the story on the Keystone Pipeline, and as of right now, that rig at Prudhoe Bay, Alaska is drilling, and they know it's coming in probably after next summer, and they...
Well, bottom line, we know that they killed the pipeline, and now they already built the southern part and the northern part. Everybody knows it's the middle he killed, so he parades around in front of the pipeline and says, okay, I built it, and I'm going to allow it to be turned on. I mean, I thought he was doing this, as Bloomberg said, for Warren Buffett, who can now ship by train the oil out of Canada to the West Coast to super tankers to take it to Asia. We know 80% of the Alaska oil already goes there. I mean, look, I hear this Muslim stuff, and I know his real name was Barry Soetoro. That's on record. I know he gave up his U.S. citizenship in Indonesia and did go to a Muslim school. That's been confirmed, folks.
Well, the real story
I know they're financing the al-Qaeda revolutions all over the Middle East and putting al-Qaeda in, but are you telling me that Mr. X, who I know, the former head of a big 5 oil company, the elite really believe he works for the Muslims? Well, the Muslims work for the New World Order, the Muslim leadership over there. I mean, Saudi Arabia does, but...
A Muslim, he wanted the oil brought in from Saudi Arabia, other countries, instead of the elite providing it from the North Slope of Alaska.
But the elite, as you know, always did the deal to not let the oil come out of Alaska because they had a deal with the Saudis. So it sounds like Obama's sticking with the old deal.
Yeah, Obama has really messed up everything with the elite right now, and they are livid with him. The real reason that you've never been told on the news, I don't even know a newsletter writer that knows this. I wouldn't have known it if I had not called this friend of mine on the phone. And the real reason he canceled out on the Keystone Pipeline is because the oil that will be coming out of Gull Island must be brought to market. They were depending on the pipeline all the way across Canada and going into Alaska with it and bringing that oil out. And now, of course, he has canceled out on it. And
well, yeah, because you said a year and a half ago the elite were going to, or almost 2 years ago, they were going to double-cross the Muslims, cut them off on that deal they had to have the Muslims use the dollar, but then they would only buy the oil from the Middle Eastern, predominantly Muslim countries. You did say that. You said they would destabilize it. So they were right about that. You were the first to say it. And now you're saying Obama is double-crossing somehow? Well, I mean, is that good then to have the elite double-cross? I mean, in a way that makes Obama good.
Well, I mean, it's wonderful that Mr. Obama has done this because they may not let him get reelected. They have the power to keep him from being the next president of the United States of America.
Well, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, he's a teleprompter reader. But you're implying Obama's actually running something. And we haven't had that really since somebody like Nixon or somebody. I mean, you're saying Obama is really running things?
Well, Obama has double-crossed the elite. He intentionally did it in favor of his Muslim Brotherhood. And when this man said to me, and this was his one expression, and you could hear all of the animosity in his voice when he said it, he said, he is a Muslim, just like that. And I said, What you mean he double-crossed in favor of the Muslims? Yes. And Alex, this is so wonderful for us. I did not say they weren't going to let him get reelected. I said they may not because they're so angry at him right now. They've got to bring that oil out somehow.
All right, you specifically said before we went live, though, that he gave you the time of the collapse. Is it still, because you were right, it wasn't years ago, are they still saying it's going to be at the end of 2012?
Well, the dollar will be dead by the end of 2012. The financial collapse will take place worldwide. It won't only be the American dollar. It's going to be the euro. It's going to be the currencies of the world.
Sure, but the inflation won't be felt here until last. For those that don't know, when a country hyperinflates its currency, especially if it's a global or regional, the effects are felt last in the country. But you're saying by the end of this year, the dollar's dead, and then I guess 6 months for it to really be felt here, or quicker?
Well, exactly when the worldwide collapse. Now, what I'm talking about today, whenever I say when is the financial collapse, I'm talking about a worldwide, not only America, euro, other currencies.
Well, it's already happening in many areas. Thank you so much, Lindsey Williams. ProphecyClub.com, newest DVD film, Secrets of the Elite, ProphecyClub.com. Thank you so much, Lindsey. We'll talk to you again this week. We'll get you back on to take phone calls. I said I'd take phone calls, but never gave the number out. Will you come back on later during the week?
Gladly, Alex. I'd consider it a privilege.
Okay,
Have
wonderful.
a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Everybody be safe out there until 11 a.m. tomorrow Central. And we'll see you back live then, and Lindsey will be on with us later, Infowars.com. If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the InfoWars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars T-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there, wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at Infowars.com today. The water filters, the canteens, it's all there. Infowars.com.